Since the sheriff didn't have answers for this murder, he figured the best he could do was collect evidence. He sent one of his deputies over to get one of his brand-new Polaroid cameras from his car. His first Polaroid camera, an older model, was awful. You had to put gooey gunk over the picture after it was taken to preserve it, but this new one was great. You simply pulled the paper off the picture after you counted for a specified time, and the picture was ready. He spent about 20 minutes taking pictures, handing them to the deputy, and then proceeded to taking measurements of the piercings, including the length, width, and depth of each one. Of course, cross measurements were taken of distances between the holes, and the deputy provided a card table complete with graph paper, rulers, triangles, compass, and a box of number 2 Ticonderoga pencils in case the other 49 pencils broke. There was also a 1-quart thermos of the sheriff's favorite coffee from the diner. This was serious business. Bobby copied every measurement in his notes. The sheriff wished there was more to investigate, but there wasn't. He looked at the coach's socks. He had seen them for sale at Grant's in Hudson Falls. He had considered buying them, but that was out of the question now. Anyone seen walking with those socks would obviously be compared with the ones found in the field here. Hey, look, it's a dead man walking upright. No thanks. Sheriff Jones turned around to see big vans with the words TV on them driving towards the crime scene. WRGB, WTEN, and WABC were parked in the front of the barn. He secretly smiled inside, but his face expressed nothing but that of a determined professional. The crowd that had been dispersed came back at the sight of the TV crews coming to town, and they applauded when they saw the reporters they recognized. Some girls were clearly starstruck when they saw Adirondack Rusty Owens. One girl fainted right on Grandma's grass. Bobby saw this as an opportunity to practice his skills of mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Lying there on the ground was a senior, Barbara Carlos, who just happened to be blonde, voluptuous, and a cheerleader. Bobby watched her walk the halls each day and talk with the jocks. She never knew he was there. She would never speak to him. Bobby who? But now he was in a position to save her life. Bobby took a moment to check his breath by blowing a puff into the cup of his hand as he held it to his nose. Before Bobby could get to Barbara, Phil Rogers, a tall employee for the Hudson Falls Funeral Home in ambulance service, rushed to the lips of Barbara quicker than lightning. To the uneducated viewer of this event, it looked like he was French kissing her instead of filling her lungs with air. This so-called professional forgot his goal, and he was enjoying the moment. It turns out he was really kissing her deeply. Bobby was mad about this missed opportunity until Barbara's boyfriend, Richard Biggs, a linebacker with the disposition of a mad bull, he grabbed Paul firmly around the neck and lifted him up. The scream from Paul is still described today like that of a cat getting skinned. Yes, worse than fingernails on a chalkboard. The sound was so loud and deafening that Barbara was somehow brought back to life. She screamed at the sight of Phil dangling in midair over her body and fainted again. Richard punched Phil in the face, and he flew back about 4 feet into the grass. As the deputies were scrambling to subdue Richard, the cameras were coming to life, filming everything they could get in the can. This gave Barbara's father a chance to pick Phil off the ground and punch him squarely in the nose. Blood was flying everywhere, and the cameras were loving every minute of it. Adirondack Rusty was scribbling notes to say on his yellow legal pad, and Grandma's front yard was a freak show. Bobby was thankful his grandmother was not alive to see this. It would have broken her heart again, or worse, brought her shotgun out. Bobby was even more thankful he had not conducted mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Sheriff Jones realized he had to do something dramatic, so he picked up his gun and fired it in the air. He figured it worked for Mr. Grubway, but then he realized he didn't use blanks. He yelled, "Everybody run! Real bullets!" It was instant chaos, and the sheriff was afraid it was the Johnny episode all over again. However, the news folks were thinking differently. WRGB happened to have one of its film crew at the right place at the right time. At 6:11 that night, they rolled slow motion of the sheriff, pulling his gun from the holster, shooting it straight in the air, and yelling. The words didn't matter. The trail of smoke came from the gun, and it was very theatrical. The sheriff was puffed up and standing tall. They threw in a B-roll of a little girl clapping as her mother quickly retrieved her and dragged her away. Sheriff Jones was an instant media hero, a man of law and justice. This would look good on his resume. After the shot, all the townspeople stopped the running and screaming and all the other things they were doing and looked at each other. It seemed foolish. The bullet lodged itself safely into the top of an old pine tree. It was found years later by a lumberjack who cut the tree down to widen Farley Road. The sheriff jumped on the back of a pickup truck and stood tall, and then he spoke. "I've seen a lot of strange things today, and you have too. This is probably too much to process. We can solve this crime, and we can do it as a community. We cannot fall apart." Adirondack Rusty pushed through the crowd and shoved his microphone in the sheriff's face and asked, "Sheriff Jones, who did this bizarre crime?" The sheriff looked at him and said, "It is under investigation." Not satisfied with the answer, Adirondack Rusty asked, "Do you have a suspect?" The sheriff got aggravated. "Ladies and gentlemen of the press, you are all on private property. You are being notified at this moment in time that you are trespassing. Anyone who does not remove themselves, their equipment, or any other foreign objects not known to Fort Anne, New York, or this property will be arrested, charged, and spend the night in my humble little jail. You got 5 minutes. Move!" "Oh, by the way, there'll be a press conference tonight at the diner," a newspaper reporter asked. "Which diner?" The sheriff laughed and said, "It's Fort Anne. Figure it out, Einstein." It took about 15 minutes for all the vans to pack up and move out. The people of Fort Anne and the TV crews decided to go to Finch's Diner to wait on a report. There would be about 2 more hours of evidence collection before Mr. Grubway and the sheriff would finally remove the body from the ground and attempt to determine the cause of death with the help from the professionals in this death business from Albany, New York. The mystery was about to be solved.